Boom. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the crypto class of 2022. I think everyone's graduated officially. I'll be the first to say I was clearly fucking wrong about Sam and FTX. It's okay. It's good to make mistakes. I've actually, I was chatting with a good friend of mine. I was like, it's actually pretty surprising that this is the first crypto exchange failure that I've been a part of for being here so long. There's a bunch that I sidestepped, missed Mt. Gox, I missed the Quadriga, which was a Canadian account, and I even used them way back in the early days. So I guess to some degree, the fact that FTX is my first exchange failure is pretty good. Although I don't think that it's done. As an early seed investor in a variety of companies, we got a bunch of messages this morning, some that had capital locked up in different places, and their FTX will not be the only exchange probably that goes bankrupt or is already insolvent. Now, clearly that's not Binance. Binance, if you will actually just jump in and take a look at Binance's. I should also give a shout out to Richard Hart, because he was clearly on top of this. Richard Hart definitely nailed some of that. Where was it? Okay, here we go. How do I go back to face share? Yeah, okay, so this is the Binance tweet. It says, as a result of our corporate due diligence, as well as the latest news reports regarding mishandled customer funds and alleged U.S. agency investigations, we have decided that we will not pursue the potential FTX acquisition. So I had a bunch of capital I left in there, like a moron. It's always painful. I'm pretty resilient. I didn't have all my money in there, but it definitely sucks. It's one of those lessons of time, I guess, to some degree. I'm impressed. Again, I'm impressed naturally that this is somehow the first exchange hack, or the first exchange malfeasance that I've been a part of throughout this entire experience. So I finally earned that badge. So I thought that was. I find it entertaining. As a joke, I messaged my mentor this morning. I'm like, so we're getting into the ice cream business. We're gonna call a company called Liquidations. Okay, so here we go, though. Mike says, I never make mistakes. Only lessons that cost me money. Yes, that's great. Down another 100 billion. So let's take a look at the markets here. We'll flip into face share here as well. Okay, that way we can see where this is. Yeah, that should do it. So Bitcoin down at $15,800. Now, Michael Burry put out a fantastic tweet today. I'll actually go to that as well. And I watched the big short yesterday. So for all of you that shorted FTT, congratulations. That was a brilliant play. I was clearly an idiot there. Again, I didn't have a ton, but a lot of people would have a hard time losing that capital. I wanted to go to Michael Burry's tweet because he posted something I thought that was quite fortuitous as well. So this is Michael's tweet. Says the point of crypto, as in most things, is the leverage. If you don't know how much leverage there is in crypto, you don't know anything about crypto. No matter how much else you think you know, you don't know anything. This is I think it's a very important tweet to understand. And one of the ways that Burry made a lot of his money in the early days was understanding Burry. What's wrong? Oh, no. I thought he was saying Mike. I was like, no, his last name's Burry, baby. Hopefully y'all can hear me properly. Let me actually just check here. I forget that. Let's see. Can't hear you. Mike is having issues. Okay, let's go with this. Your mic is screwed. Is that any better, guys? Check your mic. Mic is bad. Mic, check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Okay, is that good? How about now? Yeah, thank you, Iris. I thought she was saying Michael Burry. Okay, better. Okay, there we go. We'll put it off to the side. I guess it was like facing in at my larynx. I don't have a talk box button, so it's not gonna work. Okay, 5 out of 5. Yay. Thank you. I'm glad we solved that. The confusion on my face there. I was like, no, baby, his name's Michael Burry. Like, feck. Okay, back to what I was saying. Let's, yes, boom. This is also, there's lots of people that were out there poking fun at Tom Brady. First off, guys, just don't make fun of people when they're losing money, just in general. It doesn't look good, and it probably will come back to bite you in the butt at some point. A lot of people have lost their life savings in a bunch of different things, from Luna. If you were investing in 3 Arrows Capital, you needed a lot more capital, so you weren't normally like the average person. FTX and Voyager, Celsius, you know, even if you were right about those things going wrong, it's okay. Like, take the win of knowing personally. But some people, when they lose, I mean, if you lose your life savings, it's difficult. So I'm sure Tom and Giselle here are not feeling great. And actually, I think back to this moment, and this should have been a sign for me, because I fucking hate Bill Clinton and Tony Blair. And when Sam had them on the stage, I was like, this motherfucker is just so out of alignment. I hate these people. I should have got out then right there, just for the politics of it all. But yeah, I was clearly wrong. So there we go. That's that. Take my personal. I'm okay. You can make fun of me all you want. I don't care. We'll be fine. we didn't hit bust on that one. I actually made a tweet earlier. I thought that was quite fun as well. I don't know if you guys saw this. It says, remember, if you didn't go broke or end up in jail this cycle, you basically won. I don't know if you guys saw that Do Kwon jump on the Up Only podcast yesterday, and he was chatting with Kobe and Martin Shkreli, the guy who got thrown in jail for pharmaceutical gouging, some type of pharmaceutical fraud. He told Do Kwon, like, don't worry, jail's not that bad. Like, if you have to go. It was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen. So anyways, is that an FTX mic? No, we fixed it. It's on the side here. Don't put it in the center. We learned our lesson. I did try to. Richard and I were chatting a few months ago. I wanted to chat with him again. I like Richard. I think he's funny. So yeah, we'd love to have a chat with him. We actually had a bunch of things in common outside of the crypto sector when we had our personal chat. But yeah, he was clearly right. And there's way too much leverage in this ecosystem. Let's go back. We'll take a look at the live share here. $15,800 Bitcoin. So this appears clearly of the unwinding of the balance sheet for most of FTX and Alameda. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what you're witnessing right now. It's just a complete decimation of their balance sheet into the open market. There's no way to OTC deal that stuff fast enough. So look at this across the board. Bitcoin down 22% in 7 days, Ethereum 28%, BNB 20%, XRP 27%, Cardano 21%, Dogecoin 48%, Polygon 10%. Polygon down at 78 cents. So the fun part here is that we're pretty much in the throes of capitulation. There is always a chance that we end up down at this $11,000 to $14,000 mark, and it looks pretty certain now. Yeah, there's some great short potentials there. I don't like going short. In fact, I always suggest against using leverage, just because I don't think anybody should use leverage. It's a really easy way to lose a lot of money really quickly, whether you're short or long. Options are good for balancing. They're a bit more like an insurance if you know how to buy cheap, really out of the money options. That would have been a great play. 60% down for Solana. There's a ton of evidence that, a ton of data that they had like some, I don't know, $18 billion of Solana that's still locked up and ready to unwind. So Solana's probably going to basically nothing. Avalanche has been doing well, been holding its case at around $12-15. It's still one of the better ones. You know, a lot of people look at this across the board. Uniswap, 32%. So this is a few things. A, they're unwinding their own balance sheet, but B, when you have this much liquidity come into the market and you've got volatile assets on the other side of the market maker, it just all gets fucking trashed. Yeah, 30% Cosmos, 22% Ethereum, 24% on Stellar down for the 7 days. Like everything, 20, 13, 26, 21, 33, 33. It's all red. Red across the board. Let's see how much we wipe out. We were at $200 billion of market cap gone in the last 7 days, effectively. Yeah, there we go. Here's the current market cap tracker on CoinGecko. Big fans of CoinGecko. Oh, by the way, the data that they were providing on USDT that looked bunk the other day, that was an accident on their side. It wasn't actually USDT depegging. So here we go. Here's the total market cap. We can look at this a few ways, actually. I thought this was a great write-up too by Arthur. I'm going to quote a piece of his here because we both clearly fell into the same thought process. Yeah, did FTX rehypothecate customer funds and euphemistically use said funds effectively? This could be super dangerous. It's likely, if that's the case, Sam and his team are going straight to jail. Maybe the Bahamian jail, I'm not sure. We'll have to find out here. But there was one other sentiment he shared here that I actually resonated with. I thought was really good. I'll post this article if you want, just cryptohaze.medium.com. Yes, he said, many said it would be FTX that failed. I honestly laughed it off. I never believed they would go down, and yet here we are. The catalyst for their downfall is the same as it always is. A good business overextending themselves by gorging on cheap credit collateralized by high and rising valuations of assets on their balance sheet. And this is the last sentiment I want to share from this. I sincerely believe that Sam Bankman-Fried was a once-in-a-generation trading talent. Even though he blew up, the empire that he put together took a certain amount of panache that is hard to come by. And I must give even more kudos to Baron CZ. When the news broke that Binance might acquire FTX, I sent him the message that says, "Fucking love you, man. Boss move. Much respect." So, it's leverage. Don't use leverage. That's, I think, the core of this lesson for most people. It's a great way to think you can earn extra capital, but if you have, your mic keeps getting muffled. Really? Sorry, guys. When I'm on the road, it's harder to do. I guess I need like the sweater or something again. I don't want the necklace. Take the necklace so it doesn't smash into it. Hopefully that sounds better. Awesome. I'll catch up with you guys' comments in a second. I just want to finish this. I think one of the things that's important here to know is that a lot of this happened from under collateralized margin lending and trading, which is basically leverage for a company. If you take out a loan on an asset whose valuation is much higher than it is 3 months from now, you end up in the hole. So the difficult part here is understanding why that happens. And a lot of people do this. I try to always suggest against using leveraged products because it basically, the average person almost always blows up, like statistically speaking. Most of the guys who you've seen that appear to do well using leverage don't. Not all of them, but most of them. You can use leverage effectively. There are definitely traders who make a living off of it. But I would just always suggest against it. Oh, okay, yeah, some people are catching up on the mic volume, that's why. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I could, maybe it's my shirt or something because it keeps falling. It should be facing this direction. You know what I'll do is I'll just hold it. Okay, there we go. So if I just hold it now, it should be able to go like this. Keep your powder keg dry. Awesome. The mic is still perfect. Okay, I won't worry about it too much, but I will hold it from now on unless I gotta swim around on the computer screen here. Okay, so back to the market. Let's go and take a look at the overall total exchange market cap. We were almost instantly rejected off the 21-week moving average. That was a clear sign we were going to see some further downside. I was actually quite excited. Obviously, you guys will remember I was looking at Matic. We are closing. Wow, we're right back down to the 21-week moving average. So the 21-week moving average is usually a fairly strong signal. We had this nice close around the bottom here for Matic, and the shoot up to the 55. I was like, yes, good. We're seeing like bullish returns to the market. and then right back down to the 21-week moving average. So, but we didn't break the 21-week moving average here on Matic, which is nice to see so far. Well, obviously we'll know in the coming days what the rest of that looks like. Let's see where we're at for the total market cap again. Yeah, huge drop from 500 billion excluding Bitcoin down to 439 billion, including Bitcoin, from approximately 1 trillion all the way down to 750 trillion. So we're almost down $300 billion in the last, 72 hours today? That's 72 hours today. Yeah. Well, there's not 72 hours in the day. Sometimes we might wish there was. Let's see. Yeah, across the board, just everything's blatantly red. I'm going to tend to think that the unwinding in the Solana ecosystem will continue. Look at things like Serum here, 42% drop. Huge drops. Most of the big drops, FTT down at $1.79. So this is where I made the mistake. I thought Sam was smart. I just assumed to some degree, which was clearly poor and callous on my part, that his buying of FTT was not a try to save the sinking ship. I was like, oh, great. If we went over Monster Energy Drink, actually we'll go over Monster Energy Drink again here because they're just amazing in terms of their long-term chart. But Monster Energy Drink is really unique here because it does two things. It shows us what happens when an owner of a company owns 99% of all of the asset on the open market. Monster Energy Drink is like the best performing asset in the traditional market space. And one of the reasons why it's done so well is because their owners own all of it. So in my mind, I was like, yeah, of course Sam wants to own more of FTT because you want to own as much of your own asset as possible so that no one can dump on you. Little did I realize Binance had like $500 million floating around, and they were massively overextended. So this is the Monster beverage energy drink. It's only gone up. You can see here it was not affected by the 2001 collapse. It was not in any way affected by the 2008 collapse. Basically, what was the downside target here for? Although the appearance of a 70%. Okay, so there's a 70. They took a 70% hit based off the 2008, but effectively it's only ever gone up, and this is because the majority of the asset is held in the owner's hands. I guess the log chart makes it look a little deceiving. There we go. Here we go back into linear, so we can see the 2008 crisis with a little bit more. There we go. So this area here is 2008. Bang, but pretty much only always ever up, and this is again because the owner. The originators, the founders of Monster Energy Drink never took on a huge amount of venture capital. They never took on a bunch of outside money from anybody. They just built the company, produced revenues, and their stock prices really only ever gone up effectively. They haven't had many of the big recoils that the larger tech brands had throughout 2001 and 2008 because they owned everything. It's hard to, like, if you're not selling, then the price will basically only ever go up. So I assumed that. I thought this was Sam was doing. Sam was just trying to get all of his own asset back, but clearly his jittery self was more than just Red Bull. They clearly made some mistakes. So I'm gonna own up to that one because yeah. Well, what else do you do when you make a mistake? Say, yep, I did that. I fucked up. Let's take a look at a few of your guys' thoughts and questions here. How you're feeling about the market as well. It was fine before on the side. Okay. It just needs like the tighter shirt or something too. Crypto is now lost in the sea of legacy markets. FTX website is offline. Oh, I'll check that out. Let's see if that's true. FTX.com. That's a semicolon. It's not going to work. Something went wrong. Please try again later. Okay. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. They can't even afford their servers anymore. FTX impact on overall Bitcoin timeline adoption, in your opinion? This sets us back quite a ways, I think. I believe that one of the difficult parts we're running into now is the trust in this ecosystem. Now, Bitcoin itself, again, the real flavor of crypto is that there is no third-party liability, that we rely on the technology as our third-party trust generator. For those that know the game, Bitcoin's not affected by this. The leverage that was in the ecosystem is definitely affecting the price, because they are now having to basically fire sale all of their assets. But it's not a good look for the ecosystem. It was actually really weird that Binance would have even come out and said they were going to make a deal with FTX, because those clearly would violate U.S. Antitrust laws. So that was an instant red flag and probably sent people aiming at FTX in a very short period of time, especially because it's clear that it looks like Sam deleted his tweets that said FTX is fine, FTX assets are fine, user funds are fine, don't worry, safe. He's clearly lying. So yeah, next exchange to pop, that's a great question. I think that, well, it's hard to say, but you might find Huobi, OKX, or Gate.io. It could be on that shopping block. I have no idea. But I bet you there's more insolvencies coming then, because a lot of them were probably using assets as to over leverage their valuation on their last raise, which is never a great idea. Even if you're generating revenue, it's hard. Or just if you raise at a less valuation than the company's total assets, maybe it's not so bad. But if you raise at a valuation, that's what Three Arrows was doing as well. They were raising capital based off this illiquid funds in companies that had not come to full fruition yet. What happens to FTX consumer funds? It's a great question. We don't know yet. I'd seen a few people that were able to get capital out within the last few days, but and they said, oh, we're trying to work through the withdrawals, there's a backlog, because all of a sudden everybody wanted to exit. So we'll see where that lands. It's hard to say. Based off the fact that the website is off, I'm just assuming those funds are gone. Although from the lessons I've learned in the past, let's let you know, like if you hit moments like this, the best thing to do is use it as like a springboard and go, okay, great, made my mistake, learned my lesson, move forward, don't do that again. Again, for me, I guess it's ironic that for being here for so long that this is my first exchange hack. Maybe that's the lesson there. A lot of my peers, they kept more on exchanges in the early days, and I had thought we had maybe overcome that. But nope, wrong. We haven't thrown a proper wick yet. Withdrawals also on BlockFi paused. Whew. Okay. BlockFi also paused. You slime bulls are enjoying yourself. You should always enjoy yourself. And I don't know if you see my name, it says Arcane Bear. We're clearly not a bull. This is the best time. Is when everything that you want is much cheaper. So this is actually a great way to go. This guy says, thank you, your YouTube influencers, for this. People need to take more responsibility for themselves. I think that's what owning up to any mistake does. If you do something, it's always your fault. Like, don't blame other people. That's a clear story. Otherwise, you'll never make it anywhere in life anyways. You'll just go around being the victim your entire life, and then you're doomed. You're doomed to fail. That's just a good lesson in general. We Are the Remnant says, we are in a bear market. This stuff happens. Yeah, true. I clearly overestimated Sam's capabilities here. I was drinking the Kool-Aid on that one. I think it's because I resonated with those guys. Like, yeah, this is someone I would be friends with. I'm always friends. I got a few friends that are kind of autistic, and they're the weird tweakers that like to build stuff. They spend time coding, and they're not super sociable per se. So I just, I overestimated. That's for sure. What would be your top 5 buys? I'm still a big fan of Avalanche. But we're internally waiting we're waiting. Okay, we'll go. Actually, let's go over this. This is a great example. This is going to be. Oh, here we go. Also, apparently, we're going to start paying attention more to astrology. So now our charts will always have the moon cycles on them. But let's go back to the weekly and let's take a look at Bitcoin all the way through 2017 through 2018. Let's use this as an example. Now, we could be in the throes of something much larger than a crypto cycle. There's still lots of worries on the street about the US dollar. The US dollar is a Ponzi scheme. It's being held up by thin air and unicorn farts. Like, let's not forget that. Let's not forget that the main ecosystem still is, there's something severely wrong in the US dollar system. So it's not safe either, although they've been able to keep it alive for a really long time. Like, I definitely don't bet against it at the moment. So let's go back to 2017. When's the best time to buy? Now, in aggregate, it's usually done through time. That's a horrible line. Why would I even draw that? Let's just draw like this. In aggregate, it's usually done through time. So there's a methodology called dollar cost averaging. We've gone over this before. There's a few different investment styles. Do I try to buy the exact bottom, or do I look at investing as a bill? And I think when you look at investing as a bill over month over month over month over month, what you end up getting is this beautiful aggregated price that effectively runs right through the middle of the trading range, something like this. So if you buy at each of these places, oh geez, sorry, I don't have my proper mouse on me, guys. I just have the little trackpad. So when you buy through aggregate like this over time, you end up with a price that averages better than you could by just trying to buy, oh, here's the exact bottom, go all in here. Now, these large capitulation moments, similar to what we're seeing right now, these obviously represent great opportunities. I think long-term Bitcoin is still, in my opinion, could be proven wrong here. Like after being so wrong about Sam, I'm going to have a nice reflection around where else I may, what else I may have gotten wrong. But ultimately, I thought Bitcoin would be a great store of value over time. It's done well in the last cycles and the previous cycles up to date, but that doesn't mean something won't change. Again, what I'm trying to do is measure out the top 5 choices. You're going to recognize something that I don't recognize, so I always suggest your own research and your own interests that you should be passionate about, because you might invest in some new psychedelic mushroom startup company at day one that's not in anything that I'm looking at, and that might be the perfect passion fit for you. You should follow where you're capable of spending the most time investing, not just money, but also energy, because you need to know what's going on in the ecosystem over time to make good investments. Say you pick a basket of the top 5 like psychedelic companies, and 3 of them start to win out over time, and really there's only maybe 1 or 2 winners that take the top kind of seat. And if you don't keep rebuilding conviction throughout time, it's really easy to just want to go all in on one trade and then get totally fuckered. So that's not a great choice. So the best thing to do again is look at investing as a month over month bill. Know what you can afford to invest every month. Be okay with these massive price fluctuations where you see a trading range for Bitcoin here that's 400%. It was no different in 2011 through 2013, so we'll use this as an example too. Here, the trading range for Bitcoin back in 2013 through 2017 here. We'll draw the trading range. Here we had a 600% through the box trading range. Now, of course, buying always at the bottom is the best way to go, but it's basically impossible to do that as an individual. So again, the best thing I've found over time is to just buy month over month over month, and then you get an aggregate price. So if you had done that, you would have ended up with a price of around $400 for Bitcoin, not 200, but also not 800. So you would have been able to remove around half of the volatility from the trading range itself by following a month over month sequence of investing. Now, we wait for large capitulations now, but this is also due to the nature of a company. You get more people throughout talking. It's not just one person, and then it's a little bit easier to make decisions. It's not just one person making a decision. Personally, I'm way more risky. Otherwise, I probably would have had no money on FTX. But me, myself, I'm risky. We're still young, so I'm like, boo to boo, can lose a bunch of money and it doesn't really make a difference. But that's a personal statement through time. You know, we've started multiple companies that have grown, scaled, failed, sold. It's not our first rodeo, effectively. But the best investment is always done through time so that you can build conviction and then be passionate about what you're interested in. And that might be something that's not in the crypto sector. Maybe the biggest new up and coming thing is in AI, and that's what you want to focus on. Then do that. Right, so my top choices are not going to be the top choices for you. There's a few that I'm still really stoked about. Avalanche and Ethereum are clearly up there. Here, let's take a look at Avalanche. Avalanche is about to peak down into its 0.10. I actually would, this does look like 3 peaks in a domed house, which does have us return to this $12 area. So this could very well be a low volume spring for Avalanche. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. But I'm going to just be patient. The next few days is going to give us a lot of clarity for what the market does, especially if you take a look at where's Bitcoin right now. Yeah, our northern guiding light for our whole thesis right now is down 14% on the day. Yeah, massive amount of volume coming in. We do see a little bit of a decrease in the throw, obviously, of this as well, so it's slowing down, but it could easily come back down to 12 to 11,000 now, and it could easily turn around. We don't know how much leverage is in the ecosystem. This tweet that Burry shared, again, I think is extremely poignant in terms of the how much leverage is in the system. And if you don't know, you don't really know anything about the ecosystem, and that's kind of how I feel right now. I massively underestimated the amount of leverage that was in the crypto ecosystem. So here's that tweet from Mr. Burry himself. Says, the problem with crypto, as in most things, is the leverage. If you don't know how much leverage there is in crypto, you don't know anything about crypto, no matter what else you think that you know. And this is clearly the effect. Didn't realize so much of Celsius was over leveraged. Didn't realize so much of Three Arrows Capital was over leveraged. And this is really the allure again of crypto, is that you want to know exactly what's going on in the ecosystem. So having opaque functions of these massive companies that don't have on-chain data, that don't have transparent records of their holdings, is the exact opposite. I feel kind of stupid again, because that's why I showed up here. I showed up here because of the transparency. One of the problems we have in the traditional financial ecosystem is there's no fucking transparency in where the capital is sitting. And that's extraordinarily detrimental for the average person, right? This is why the GameStop fiasco was so interesting, is they were 140% over leveraged on the short side, which doesn't make any sense. You should, in fact, that's technically illegal. And who do they go after? The kitty guy, the guy that was on Reddit. They didn't go after the people who managed to oversell. They didn't go after the clearinghouses. So the big guy never ends up in jail. It's always the little guy. If no one, Do Kwon's not in jail. It's the guy who wrote code for Tornado Cash. So clearly they favor criminals. And I'm not saying Do Kwon is a criminal, but the Tornado Cash guy definitely wasn't a criminal, right? And that's the difficulty here, is that time and time again, the 2008 collapse is a prime example. It wasn't a bunch of bankers that went to jail and a regulation didn't reform the ecosystem. No, the exact same things started to happen over again. And the exact same problems that were in the financial system in 2008 are multiplied now in the traditional ecosystem. And it's not there in Bitcoin. It's not there in Ethereum. If you want to go look at what's going on chain, you can do that. But when massive amounts of capital start to flow into opaque companies like FTX, it's clearly not good, because we then no longer know how much leverage there is in crypto. And this is a lesson that I didn't understand, but I now know. So I guess this is one of the bright sides to any time you're growing. You can do it two ways. You can assume yourself the victim, or you can assume yourself the one who's now learned a lesson. And the lesson is always the better direction to go. Okay, so let's take a look at a few thoughts. Would you touch Sol now? We'll just be patient. they got way too much money locked up in there. They're just going to be selling everything they possibly can to try to meet their debtor requirements. So I'd be patient. We haven't seen the bottom of Sol yet, I don't think. Yeah, so that's too bad for that one. We were excited about Solana for video games, but that doesn't look like the case. Avalanche for video games. SBF was a front. Do you think KuCoin will go next? I'm still on vacation. We go back home. I'm off vacation again. We'll do some more deep dive research. That was another lesson. Don't do half things. Don't half vacation and half work. It's one or the other when I'm choosing. Otherwise, my data research ends up being kind of half-assed. I'm like eating my spaghetti, looking at my phone. This just doesn't bode well. Let's see, a few more thoughts. When oil is no longer based on US dollar, the fun begins. Yeah, there's much bigger problems, I think, in the ecosystem that are lurking. The US oil reserves are definitely one of them. They've been living off cheap gas that just doesn't exist. So when that comes home to roost, inflation's going to look like it appears way higher, and that's likely just after the midterm elections. They'll be like, oh, see, the Republicans did up. Like, anyway, so there's some much bigger problems that could occur on the other side of this conversation. Take a look at a few more of your guys' thoughts and questions. Oh, give us a thumbs up, by the way. 284 people in the live stream. Thank you, guys. On FTX, people can't even sell. The website is off. It's over. They're totally insolvent. This will be handled like Mt. Gox. Yeah, it doesn't look good. They clearly were full of shit and lying. That's now appears to be facts. Yep. If you don't own a cold wallet, buy one ASAP. Rocky, yes. I always suggest keeping things on the cold storage. My personal failure here was being a bit more complacent. Luckily, internally, we've got much better mandates than that. Me, myself, though, I'm a ridiculous person. I do all sorts of fun. Let's see. Sam kept bragging about how much capital he could steward while he was also in the red. Apparently. Wow. We'll just repeat this. Get a cold wallet or a hard wallet if you don't have one. Just a great way to go. Do you believe there is risk in Tether? I believe there's risk in all stable coins. And when I had Do Kwon on the show and I asked him, look, we've never had a currency that's been able to keep a peg. How would you be able to do that now? Like what makes you think that you'd be able to do something that has never happened in history? We've never actually had any currency that stayed stable given a long enough period of time. So why do you think that you can do that now? So in the long run, I believe that the US dollar will fail. And what that looks like over time is hard to say. The Federal Reserve and the central banks will probably try to blame the banking system when it happens. They'll be like, oh, see, it was corporate interests. Tesla, Russia did it. It was Zelensky's fault. We gave him so much money and then decided that peace was okay. Now it's going to be Zelensky's fault. The central banks will blame anyone but themselves for the problems that they created. But inherently, given enough time, I see the US dollar going to zero. So I feel that Tether will be no different. There's no way to keep a coin stable. It's one of the misnomers of climate change as well. Motherfucker, the climate changes. Like just a few degrees further away from the sun every year and the motherfucking Canada starts to go negative 40 degrees Celsius. Like clearly the sun and a slight difference in the change of the relationship to the sun and the earth goes fucking frozen cold. So climate has always changed. Stable coins don't exist. It's a difficult one that I think the universe is change over long enough periods of time. So that's a hard one to say. Where are you in the world? We're taking a little vacation in Mexico right now. Yes. Sleeper for video games is Arbitrum. Yeah, Arbitrum has been interesting. We invested in Treasure DAO. They're worth checking out. Again, we're big fans of the gaming sector. We think it's part of the next boon of what pushes that grassroots Trojan horse adoption during financial crisis, much as we saw in 2020. Kraken or Coinbase for quick purchase? Coinbase is better regulated than Kraken, I guess. Yeah, but I think they're KYC. is heavier. FTX app is still launching. Okay, we'll check that out. Let's see here. I'll try to verify that right now. Oh yeah, the FTX app still works. Just their website is down. Okay, cool. FTX app still working. There you go. Well, nice to see. Thoughts on Gala Games? Also like Gala Games. You know, we invested in Myriad Games as well, which is another one of these platform-based L2 models. We think gaming is one of the big parts of the industry boon, although I can't tell you how disturbed I am by the current excess mortality rates throughout the world. There's a whole bunch of other black swans flying throughout this ecosystem that makes our little crypto universe look tiny in comparison. Crazy thought, buy Bitcoin, transfer it to your wallet. That's it. Yes. Look, long-term acquisition models have paid off enormously. I highly suggest reading the books Dan Dow or 100 Beggars. It's the best acquisition process through time. It's not trading, it's just constant acquisition of companies you believe in and then rebuilding that conviction every month as you see the market either confirm or deny your sentiments. So I would agree with that. Appreciate the universal truth, bro. Can you tell me about the moon cycle relativity? You know, I don't actually know here, and the moon cycles happen very frequently, so it's a bit harder to find correlation with something that has such a considerable sequence of events. Right, so here we are playing today with, this one's kind of fun. It shows you the full moon, the new moon, and the waning and waxing moons as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of like full moons at the bottom of the chart. Yeah, pretty consistently, right? The full moon seems to appear closer to the bottom, right? So if you know a full moon is close, we're probably about to, or maybe we'll be heading down. Now, again, that's a lot of, again, that didn't happen here. So it's hard to say, given enough time, where that sentiment lies. But if you, and also we're probably getting a little bit of a confirmation bias here too, because they're showing the full moon at the bottom of the chart itself. Yeah, for fun, we put these, oh Jesus, these trackpad mouses are no good for charting. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so let's take a look at 2017 or 2019 through 2020. So yeah, the full moons appear at the bottom. And again, I think that this is possibly a bias of the fact that the full moon here is appearing near the bottom of the chart as well. So it'll give a visual bias to that conclusion. If you could switch it, it might appear opposite. I wonder if you can switch it. Oh yeah, you can. Above bar, awesome. And let's put new moon below bar. Yeah, see, it does, even just switching that looks like there might be a bias of just where the moon shows up on the chart. Because here now it looks like it's tops. So it's hard to say exactly. You'd have to do a pretty thorough analysis over time. But twice now, these lunar eclipses have apparently thrown the markets into total turmoil. And there's good reason for that. You know, there's a reason why women kind of all end up in a cycle with the moon, and why the tides all end up in a cycle with the moon. The moon moves water around like a maniac, and most of the universe is made up of, or I'm sorry, most of our little world is made up of things that are affected by water. And also, we know that one of the reasons why the story around the full moon and werewolves came about is because people are a little bit more crazy around the full moon because the water has moved. So it's not a totally improbable correlation to make. It's just hard to say how effective it is. We'll be paying more attention to it now just for fun, and it looks awesome on the chart too. I mean, how cool does that look when you look at this, when you can see where we are in the astronomical cycle. Big fan of the planets anyway, so why not? But yeah, even by changing the bias here of the top and the bottom of the full and the new moon, it looks like it could be the opposite. I don't know, you'd have to run a strategy that just bought and sold every full and new moon and see how that composite strategy played out over time. I mean, I'm sure one of you guys is good enough at coding to write that and back test it. Probably someone already even has back tested that strategy. So I'd be interested to find out what that says over a long enough period of time. Because just like any theory, you need to be able to play it out over a very long period of time to find out if you were actually right. Oh shit. There we go. Yes. Okay. So here's the chart. I switched the. I got to keep my phone open beside me so I can make sure I know where we are on the screen. So when we switch the bias of the full and the new moon, it definitely appears to at least visually change its course sentiments. Let's see if we put the both full moon and new moon above the chart too. Yeah, part of it is the bias of where we view it, but I'd have to say you'd want to run like a back test of that to really tell. Massive amount of volume coming in though. This is great. Ultimately this could be the spring of this trading range. We're going to know in the next 24 to 48 hours. If we can't get back above, if we get some green hike and ashy going up here, and we do this and we can't close back above 18,650, we're definitely coming down to like 10 to 12,000. Let's go to the weekly here so we can get a better picture of that. Yeah. If we can't close back above the box, we're definitely gonna have another 50% drop. And now understanding how little I know about how much leverage is in this ecosystem, or how many big players that look successful that are basically running on leverage or some type of margin borrow, I'm not even going to begin to guess now. But let's just, for fun, like I've always stated, understand that the risk is that we could go to 10 or 11,000, and then now you know how easy it is to play the game. Just be consistent. Know that there's always massive risk for the downside, and know that the risk for the downside is best mitigated through time, through pretty simple strategies of just accumulation, like it's a monthly bill that you can afford. That way you don't go all in at once at the top like most people do. And even if you want to buy, just buy amounts that you can afford on a consistent basis, going through what you appear to be your like 5 to 10 year strategy line. And then you'll do amazing. Again, I highly suggest reading the book 100 Baggers. If you want to find it, you can actually find it for free by going 100 Baggers audiobook. Yes, here it is. 100 Baggers audiobook. It's around 6 hours long by Christopher Mayer. It goes over multiple companies that have done 0 to 100x. So for every $1,000 you put in, you walk away, or sorry, for every $10,000 you invest, you walk away with $1 million basically. So again, you aggregate that out over the course of a 5 to 10 year agenda. You go, how much does that cost every month to aggregate the $10,000, so you don't try to build conviction in one company too quickly. Again, I repeat this a lot, but I don't think a lot of people take it to heart. There's like, 100x today. It's 100x over 10 years, usually 5 to 3 years sometimes if you're lucky. Matic and Fetch were basically luck, in my opinion, or a good calculated bet. But here, give this book a try. It's free. If you buy it, if you want, I bought it. It's a great book. You can get it from Audible as well. But for those of you that are really feeling the bear market, here it is for free. The moon stuff is dumb. It makes crypto look bad. Yeah, I would disagree with that. For instance, when you pass through a meteor stream and you go, hey, the fact that you're relating things to the stars is dumb. It just clearly shows you don't understand where we are in the universe. It makes a difference. How big of a difference, that's hard to say. Again, I wouldn't backtest the strategy basically only off of full moon and new moon strategies. I bet you over time that would fail, because it seems like a 50-50 shot every 14.5 days basically. But definitely know that when the full moon is full, people are more emotional. That's just a fact. We know that already. We can actually statistically prove that on a scientific basis, that people are more emotional due to the moon's effect on the water on the planet, and that you're made of mostly water. So So it does have some effect. I won't wager a bet on how much of an effect, but it definitely has some effect. Samurai saying, remember, if you lose everything in crypto, you still have Jesus. I think it's more crypto spaghetti monsters in the religion in crypto here, but yeah. Barnshock says, gracias, my friend. All my questions have been answered here. Now I can just be patient, meditate, and wait for a set to be clear. And people, get a hardware wallet. Yeah, definitely go hardware wallets. I love the Ledger Nano S and the Ledger Nano X. I have the very first Ledger Nanos that were ever produced, like the wristband one as well. They're awesome. I actually used to, there's an Instagram I put out in 2013 holding up the Ledger being like, this is the new bling of the future. Peace Soup says, the bear started on the 21st of November. It would be crazy if the bottom came in the exact same day a year later. Yeah, that would be fun. Ghost Rider by Neil Peart. Okay, I'll add that to the list. What a fantastic drummer. Yeah, some of the effects of the moon on people's emotions is statistically provable. Again, you can't, although then measure what people do with those emotions. Everybody's different. Like, that's a harder sell, I think, to say exactly. But best hardware wallet, I like the, I have a few Ledger Nano S's from the 2014 years. But then the Ledger Nano X is pretty dope too. Actually, there are some fun things that the Ledger Nano X can do that the S can't. I'm not even sure if they sell the S anymore, so I would assume the X. I have got some Trezor. I've probably got like 3 or 4 Trezors that I don't use anymore. I just didn't like the feel. It didn't feel as safe. And then remember that it's not the hardware wallet that's important. It's your goddamn seed phrase, ladies and gentlemen. So our mandate is we store all of our seed phrases on metal plates. So it's written in metal. If fire hits it, you can't fuck with it. Floods hit it. As long as it doesn't get lost in the flood, it's going to be fine. So remember that the seed phrase is actually more important than the hardware wallet at that point. So double down on how you store your seed phrase. We use security or safety deposit boxes as well. So that's more important than the wallet. You can lose the wallet and re-upload the wallet with the seed phrase. So that's a good way to go. I hope thanks for hopping on during your vacation. Yeah, this was definitely need to own up to my mistake here of miscalculating SAM and FTX. That was clearly, I fucked up there. So I figured it was smart. Like, I'm not just gonna hide away and pretend that like I didn't make a mistake here. I clearly fucked that one up. That's okay. It's good to, like, everybody is gonna make mistakes, and usually those who think that they aren't will eventually, and then they blow up somewhere along the way too. Oh yeah, never put your seed phrase on a computer. Never write it on a computer. Never write it on a note, or don't like. We write straight onto the metal cards when we're doing that now too. So remember that the seed phrase relationship, like, you should be ultimately protective of that seed phrase. So great point there, Naku. Grant Lowry says, I have never bought without instantly putting in the cold wallet, and I've been saving for this dip. Time to start back on dollar cost averaging. Yeah, we're getting much closer, or like we're in that range now. We're basically in the capitulation range, and I suspect that things are going to get more and more dangerous. So we're going to be going out and buying more physical silver, and I have a mandate now to keep like X amount of cash in the safety and security deposit boxes now too, just because we could see bank runs. Now I live in Costa Rica. It's a little bit different. We don't have the same quality of banking ecosystem out there, so. Yeah, keeping a security deposit in the bank is a different story, but not cash in the bank. You could see the U.S. dollar go bust here. I still think that's a large potential. Wondering if this could happen to Coinbase or Binance. Anything is possible at this point, although I think it's less likely. I was fucking wrong about SAM, so I'm not even going to begin to pretend that I know and say it's safe there. It's safer in a hardware wallet where you know where the seed phrase is stored. Not your keys, not your coins. It's been like the hallmark of this entire ecosystem given enough time. Third-party liability has gone bust a few times. It's happened enough to say not to trust it in general. I think it's a great way to go. Thanks for owning it and being authentic. Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to. I think we won't even get into the other sentiment. All I can do is take sentiment from my own growth and learning lesson. Okay, let's see where we are in the markets now too. We'll go back here. Now Binance has disclosed clearly that they're not going to be taking on this deal. Bitcoin's holding pretty well here at the $15,900 mark. On the weekly, that is a giant fucking wick still. Although we haven't gone through the week. Let's go back to the daily. Some big wicks on the daily too. You definitely see some accumulation between that $15,000 to $17,000 mark. It's getting bought up pretty quickly. On the 6 hour here, we'll even let's go to let's put the bear claw on as well. Also, if you guys want, we give away a bunch of these indicators for free. You can follow me on TradingView. The bear claw is this beautiful exponential moving average stack with some simple moving averages. It's got the 314, the 200, the 55, the 21, and the 9. Some big wicks. But again, we had big wicks buying up yesterday from 17,000 to 18,000 that just were totally destroyed. This volume here to me, it looks good though. I mean, we were looking for a spring of some kind, and this still might be it. You know, it really comes up next. So here's my sentiment. This is what it looks like. If we cannot get back above 18,800, we're definitely coming down to 11,000. That's just the nature of this trading range right now. We couldn't hold above this EMA basically at all. And on the 21, it was the perfect rejection of the weekly 21-a-week moving average. We're holding above the 314 on the weekly as well, and below the 200. So the 200 and the 314 have basically formed the trading range that we are now moving between. On the weekly, again, this actually doesn't look like we're too far away, or that we're too far through this trading range. Consistent increase in volume at the moment though. Where are we? Consistent increase in sell volume. This one's the biggest though. This is the biggest sell side candle we've seen, but this is likely due to FTX having to fucking fire sale everything. I think I read somewhere. Let's actually go back to Twitter. Listen to this book. You promise you guys will all love it. Let's go to Twitter here. Let's take a look at Caroline Capital. Someone said that she was escorted out of the offices. FTT is still above the $22 market cap, as Caroline predicted. The jokes. I come to Twitter for the jokes, and every now and then you find great news. Oh, I should probably apologize to fucking Dylan with my half-assed research. He was clearly right. I was fucking wrong. That's another one. Dylan Eclair or Sinclair, something like that. I was clearly wrong. You got that one right, bro. Let's see. Caroline Capital. Someone is saying she was being escorted out of the office high on amphetamines or something like this. Oh, well. Okay, let's take a look back at make sure I click this button. See how you guys are doing in the stream. Apparently Gemini is doing some shady shit. Yeah, basically all exchanges now look risky, so keep that in mind. $770 billion in the last 24 hours is a record for Bitcoin across all exchanges, of course. What book was that? Oh, this is the 100 baggers. Stocks that return 100 to 1 and how to find them, and usually how long you have to wait. So for every $10,000 that you invest, it ends up being worth $1 million. Great book, absolutely essential. Replays the story that I've shared here about conviction building through time. Have you seen the 24-hour Bitcoin volume? Let's go. Yeah, 24-hour Bitcoin volume is massive. This this signature here that we're seeing, this is incredible. This is very similar to the drop from 40. Yeah, here we go. It's from 28 to 30, or sorry, from 28 to 17. Wow, even bigger than that technically. Yeah, only once or twice have we seen volume signatures this high, and they were very short-lived. This now has two days of volume signatures this high. This is a historic moment for Bitcoin. Obviously, also shows the importance of the underlying asset versus the third-party exchanges. What about Coinbase? Again, the whole point, I think, of this lesson across the board is never trust third-party exchanges. They're easily hacked. They can, and I think that includes banks now. I think we're getting closer and closer to the moment where that actually includes banks. Yeah. Awesome. We're rolling up on the hour here. We're gonna go for dinner soon. So I'm gonna sign off for the rest of the day. Stay safe out there. When you have a lesson, take it like a champ. There's really nothing better to do. And prepare yourself to move forward stronger and better, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, props to everyone who saw it before I did. You guys were champions. I was high on autistic capital. Anyways, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you on the next episode.